by her own admission, she's calling herself an entrepreneur. She's calling the site Social Autopsy. She calls it a tech startup. And yet, she doesn't know some, like, really basic stuff. I mean, I think I learned the term, actually. I learned the term docs in 2016. I learned the term in July of 2016. So, but I wasn't trying to make a tech startup either. But I mean, she kept acting like it was proof that, nobody knows that term. Nobody knows that term. Yeah, okay, whatever. Alright, now I have a note of the 32-minute mark. Maybe 32:49 seconds. Candox says you can go to Facebook and find the stuff yourself, so why do you need a database? And Everyday Oppression, I think he said this in his commentary. If you want to watch a really good commentary of the showdown, Everyday Oppression does a 5-part commentary of it. And he's like a gay bi. He's a Canadian. I actually subscribed to him already, so and he says exactly what I already had in my notes, because I had already started making notes on it before he put his stuff out. And what I said was like, well, you're the one that made the database, like, why don't you tell us? Why do you, she's saying, well, you can go to Facebook and find this stuff, so why do you need a database? Yes, you're the one that made the database. Why don't you tell us? And this is basically the same kind of comment that Everyday Oppression had, was like, exactly, why do we need your database? You're basically saying you don't need my database, but it's your database. Why did you feel the need to create it if you're just finding public information? If you're supposedly not doxing people, except that we know that she's doxing people because she's asking people to give up personal information that is not online and to tie it to them. And that is doxing. Let's not get it twisted. That is doxing. She keeps saying she was misguided. She keeps saying she was naive. But she's still talking up the site. And that's what really bothers me. And, like, when Tree did her video, I went and I did I watched the video. I watched videos that were already up. And so I watched the one from Cyber Violence. And he kind of covered all this stuff. Like, he showed where she was talking about the site. And I went to the interviews and I kind of poked around to find her talking about the site. And one of the things I noticed was she was talking about the site like, between the clips that those two put up as well as what I poked around and found before I made my own video, Tree was very accurate where she said, it's just an anti-bullying site. I mean, that's basically what Candace did. She interviewed with men who, were mostly drooling all over her. Because, she wears a lot of makeup and men are attracted to makeup, not natural women. And, she bats her fake eyelashes that she puts on. And it's just an innocent little anti-bullying project. When, in fact, it's pretty vicious, the idea that it was supposed to dox people. And now she's finally realizing, like, everybody hates her site. But if you go back to her interviews, you can see, like, she's in interviews and she's like, there's one interview in particular with InfoWars where they're talking about something completely and totally different. She's like, and it's just like what happened with me. They tried to cut off my legs and now I'm back. And it just shows that Tree is right. I mean, what any rational person will realize, like, why are you bringing this up? Why are you constantly promoting this site if you supposedly had a change of heart? And the fact is that in the interviews, between the time that she came back and the time when she basically got caught with her hand in the cookie jar by the YouTuber right-winger community, she was basically trying to sell this site as an anti-bullying site, which just shows she didn't change. Which just shows that Tree is right. She didn't change. Alright, about the 32-minute mark, she makes a comment, a wise-ass comment about Tree. She says, "Oh, I genuinely think Tree is on drugs." Well, how come you're allowed to genuinely think Tree is on drugs, and we're not allowed to genuinely think you're a fraud? By the way, you're a fraud, you're a fraud, you're a fraud-ass bitch, you're a fraud, you're a fraud, you're a fraud-ass bitch. Are you triggered? Are you triggered? It's just my opinion, don't mind me. If you're allowed to have an opinion about Tree and say something as wild as her being on drugs, I mean, then I don't see why we can't say that you're a fraud. We think you're a fraud. And we may not have proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but we actually have preponderance of the evidence. Your allegations against Tree, completely pulled out of your rear end. Completely and totally pulled out of your rear end. Like, oh, I don't like what she said about me, so I'll just say, because she grew up in the hood and I grew up in a high school with, only 10% blacks. Like, all of a sudden, she's basically being racist towards a fellow black. Let's be honest. Tree grew up in the, get down, get real, get grungy kind of black neighborhood. And Redfield Black, I pulled up her high school, and it's only 10% black. So, she keeps acting like she grew up in a black neighborhood and that she grew up, like, with this black upbringing, but she didn't. The truth is, her school at this point in time is 10% black. I doubt it's changed that much in about 10 years. Even if it's changed, let's say it was 20%, she still didn't grow up in a predominantly black area. Now, I grew up in a very, very white area, but I will tell you, I lived, when I first moved to New York City, I lived in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Now, if anybody is from New York City, you can attest to that. I was literally the only white person there. Like, Brownsville, Brooklyn, it doesn't, I don't think it gets more ghetto than that. That's like the East Coast version of Compton. I mean, that's why you can't play me. You can't white people whisper me. As Tree's been telling people she's a white people whisperer. I know exactly what that term is. Because I used to have a lot of black friends who basically, they actually liked me, so they told me about this stuff. And that's a thing! The white people whisperer! It's the thing! It's a real thing! Anyway, okay, moving on in the critique. So, she claimed that Spencer retweeted it in 24 hours, and I told you I looked that up. It was 3 hours. She called Blaire an alt-right sympathizer, which, I mean, is just really obnoxious. She called all of us bottom feeders. Anybody who made a video on her is a bottom feeder. She says, well, there's terrorism going on. How many videos have you made on terrorism, Red Pill Black? How many? I don't think you've made any videos on it. And I can tell you that during all the saga, I stopped to make a video on the pickup truck of peace here in New York City. So you can't say, only I cover, and you know what, I cover what I want to. And I'm sorry that makes you triggered. Actually, I'm not sorry that makes you triggered. I love triggering liberals. And we know you're really a liberal because you act like a liberal. Okay, we don't know you're a liberal, but you act like a liberal. Don't get it twisted. You act like a liberal. Alright, I'm at the 45-minute mark. And she says, I didn't understand internet culture when I tried to create this site. And I just said, oi! Alright, bottom feeder. Moving on. I commented, Chris Ray Gunn made a video on her project about a year ago. So Chris Ray Gunn has like 300,000 or something like that and change subscribers. Bottom feeder? I think not. Tree? Bottom feeder? I think not. She has over 60,000 subscribers. I mean, it may not be as many as Candace has right now. But it might be more than Candace has in a few weeks. If this trend keeps going. And it's certainly nothing to sniff at. I mean, I have 256 subscribers as I make this video, and that's not that many, but you know what? You don't like how many subscribers I have and what videos I make? Well, too bad. I mean, it really sounds like Candace can't handle the internet, and I think she needs to get off the internet. She's just, I mean, they said they made that Degree 180 site because they wanted to create content that was more to their liking on the internet. So they made this, like, if you haven't read some of the articles on there, it's basically Cosmo type stuff. Leftist, girly, kind of ditzy takes on life, kind of like very pop culture is, you know, everything. Just like stuff you would find in Cosmo or Vogue. Just very blech. Stuff I would never read. Unless I was making fun of her. Chris Ragonin. Oh yeah, I read that. So now I'm up to about 48 minutes. So she's talking about the 11 YouTubers in the same live stream, and she called it a dog pile. But if that's a dog pile, what do you call a site like Social Autopsy that's basically a site dedicated to digital lynch mobbing? I mean, if 11 people in a live stream is a dog pile, what is a digital lynch mob that you wanted to coordinate on your site? And then go, I'm not guilty. I can't help it if they use my site that I made to bully people. I can't help it if they use it for bullying.